Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome in to the FC podcast. This is episode 4. Toast, we have made it to a month.
Yay.
As always, I'm Killer Gunny 132, and with me via the Skype application on my computer is Toast78901. How are you doing, buddy, after your trip?
Yay.
Yay?
Yay. No, fuck this. I'm tired, goddammit.
Yeah, you just got back from your flight yesterday. Actually, a day earlier than you thought you would.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna be home today on Easter, and I thought I was gonna interrupt my whole family's Easter dinner, and then I was gonna drag my ass over to your house to record. And then you tell me, no, we can't, 'cause we can't come over, and then we're gonna have to do it via Skype and go down that crap.
I think it sounds alright. Anyway.
We need legitimate headsets, we really do.
Anyway, so once again, you went on your trip to Europe, you hit up London, and you also hit up Italy. How was that?
London was great, Italy sucked ass.
Why did Italy suck ass? I hear it's beautiful.
I'll do this way, don't ever go to Florence. We went to Florence, we flew into Pisa, and then took a bus to Florence, and we stayed in Florence for like a week almost. And
For reference, who's this person you're with?
I was with my girlfriend.
Okay, there you go.
The post lady friend that everybody brought up in my fucking spotlight. You guys are fucking creepers. Anyway, and so we went to Florence, which I really wanted to go to, being a huge AC2 fan. Ezio's from Florence. Florence has been renowned for its artists, its artwork, its music, its culture, its city. It's great, in terms of history and everything. It fucking sucked. Okay. Yeah. It fucking sucked. Things were overpriced, which I didn't totally expect because although it's a big city, this city went total tourist. Like, I don't even know how to fully explain it. It's just like, if there is a city that is a sellout, it is Florence. The other thing sucked. Yes, completely.
I've heard some things about Hawaii, but...
No, I'm talking like big historic type places that have gone total sellout.
Huh.
Then again, I haven't been to like Berlin or like Warsaw or any of the other major places, but I'm just saying, like, this was pretty bad. What was that?
I didn't say anything.
Anyway, I'm going fucking crazy. This is beautiful. Anyway, it was nice on the AC level, like being able to go to like the Ponte Vecchio where, AC2 starts with Ezio when the, rock is thrown at him.
Yeah.
Being able to see all these different places, being able to see like, the Palazzo of the fucking Medici and all that. Like, that was great. But me and my girlfriend mostly go for museums and stuff like that. We're huge history dorks, huge art dorks. Like, it's just kind of what we do. And it turns out all the fucking great pieces that Florence is renowned for has been bought out by fucking France and fucking London. So you go there expecting to see great Renaissance pieces and they're all in other fucking cities. It's better to just go to Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, I'm dead serious. And, oh man, it was a rip-off. If you guys do go there, don't go to the, Uffizi. That was bad. Which, that's an art gallery, a lot of Renaissance art. We went there, half of the whole thing was being renovated. All the famous pieces were gone. The one thing that actually Florence redeemed themselves for is there they have the painting, The Birth of Venus. Gunny, do you know about it at all?
I'm not very familiar with a lot of art pieces other than mainstream ones.
It's really famous. Like, you'd probably recognize it if you see it, if anybody goes up. Anyway, that was there. And what I thought was really cool is they had like this piece of like limestone that they copied what the photo looked like and they embossed it so you could like feel all the different like, strokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they had that for the vision impaired. So they could feel what the famous artwork should have looked like.
Uh-huh.
And that, the city redeemed itself for a while there, because I thought that was, the coolest fucking thing ever.
Yeah, that actually is pretty cool.
I was like, you're helping the vision impaired see beautiful pieces of art. That's fucking amazing.
I've actually never heard of something like that ever before.
Neither have I, and I totally tripped out because I saw it and I thought it was just a sculpture that somebody had did, and then it said, here's, this embossed motif for the vision impaired, and I was like, oh my god.
Huh.
Yeah, that was really cool. Don't go to the Pizzi Palace if anybody goes. That was another ripoff in terms of art.
Really?
Well, we didn't get to go to the Academia, which we didn't go because we didn't want to spend the equivalent of another $45 for something that was probably going to be a ripoff.
Yeah.
We climbed the Duomo, which for those of you who don't know, it's like the largest or the largest building, in Florence. It's, one of the most famous cathedrals. I think it's technically like the Basilica of St. Mary or something like that, but everybody just knows it as the Duomo. But, and here you have to pay, of course, but you can climb these 500 steps through the back of the cathedral, and then you stop halfway through at this balcony that's up right at the top of the dome on the inside, or like right on the dome. So you can see all the artwork on the ceiling, like up close. And that was really amazing. That was really cool to see the whole fresco up at the top. And then you keep on climbing and you get to the very top and you come out onto the roof where there's like, it's gated off and everything so you can't fall or anything. But you're literally overlooking all of Florence, and that was really cool. But the thing that pissed me off about that was when you're climbing through, it's like this stone passageway with spiral staircases and everything, and then there's a couple original statues and stuff like that were originally included in the cathedral. People have tagged it to shit.
Huh. That's kind of sad.
Like, with Sharpies. Like, I was here in 99. Ennis and friends. Lol. Spring break. It fucking drove me nuts. I was so pissed. I was like, okay, I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what your personal beliefs are. You don't go to something that is either historic, and especially when it's like, a cathedral, and tag the shit out of it.
Yeah.
You just don't do that. Like, I just see that as so disrespectful. It, like, flew me off the fucking handle. Like, I lost it at that.
So was that probably your worst experience during the whole trip?
No, it wasn't my worst. Because the food was redeeming, the gelato was great. The hotel was small, but it was still, it was decent for what we wanted. I think people give 2-star hotels too much shit, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
I also got to bring back a bunch of good, legitimate chocolate hazelnut spread, not this fucking shit. Not this Nutella shit. Like, I'm talking like legitimate shit. Like, this is the stuff that tastes good. For you Nutella fans out there, you don't know what you're missing, trust me.
So then what was probably your worst experience throughout the whole trip?
Okay, so to get to that, I kind of have to explain how I got everywhere.
Okay.
I Virgin Atlantic to London. It's an 11-hour trip going there. 10 hours, 11 hours. I hate flying. So going there kind of sucked, but I was okay with it. The only problem is sitting still for 11 hours. It fucked up my tailbone because my tailbone's actually cracked. It was bad. And then I get to London, and then from London we flew to Pisa, on the small 737. If anybody's ever traveling in London or in, Europe, fly Ryanair. They're small, they're cheap, like they're so small that you literally load the plane from the fucking tarmac.
Yeah.
Like original, like how they used to do it in the 60s with the staircase. It's fucking awesome. And it's small, but because of that there's a lot of turbulence. And then we landed in Pisa and we took a bus to Florence. Oh, and we didn't fly out of Heathrow, which is the main one. We flew out of Stansted, so we had to take a train there. And okay, now that you guys know how I got there, I'll explain the 2 worst experiences. Number 2, because I'll get to number 1 in a second, was we landed in Pisa and we had like about 8 hours before our bus would take us to Florence because we landed in the middle of the night. And we thought we could just chill in the airport. Well, you can't. Turns out the airport is so small that they close.
Oh, wow.
So we got kicked out onto the street in the middle of the night. And of course, Gabby, she's freaking out. She's like, we're gonna fucking have to sleep on this bench. And I'm like, I've got this. I'm looking at a quick map and I figured out which way was north. So I could get to the center of the city, and I headed towards the center. We ended up finding a hostel, which for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like, it's a small, cheap hotel room that usually the rooms are shared. They have multiple beds in it. We ended up getting a room with no one else, so that was fine, but I was able to get that for the equivalent of like $30, so I mean, it wasn't that bad. It's better than sleeping in the cold for 8 hours. That was number 2, just because it kind of sucked, and I almost got involved in a drug deal.
Oh, well then.
We were walking through the city, and like, this guy was there. And like, you could tell he was waiting for somebody, like he was waiting for his buyer, and he looks at me, and I look at him, and for those of you guys who don't know, I wouldn't say that I live in like fucking East LA, but I don't live in a good part of Sacramento. And so I just kind of like, I have that look about me, and so I just kind of looked at him, and he looked at me, and we just kind of exchanged that look of, we're not gonna fuck with each other, you understand? I'm not here for your shit, you're not here for me, we're gonna keep fucking just walking. And then, the number 1 was, we fly back into London, We have to wait at customs for 2.5 hours. Standing in line. Because they only had 2 people checking US passports. It was horrible. Or not US, it was all other ones that weren't EU, but most of them were American passports. So we had to do that. We missed the train back, the one we were gonna take. So we had to take the one after that. Well, guess what happened?
Wasn't going to the place you wanted?
No, it got delayed.
Fun.
It got delayed. Because somebody jumped in front of a fucking train.
Wow.
And
Well.
blew on impact.
Like, in front of you guys, or was it at a different station?
It was way down the line, but the train has to come all the way out to grab us and then go all the way back.
Yeah.
And so that fucked up the whole line. So then we finally get on this train. The train was only delayed for like a half hour, so it wasn't that bad. But then we get on it and we're going, and we end up having to stop on the track because since somebody did that, they had to redirect to a whole new route.
Yeah.
And then the route they were going to redirect us to, they had to redirect us again. Because the line that they were originally going to redirect us to had construction going on. So we had to go to this third line. And then guess what happens on this third line that now every train is going through?
Something bad that delays you.
A train got into an accident and flipped over.
Someone hates you. That's like
God
or something.
It gets worse. So we're sitting on this train. We're on this train for a 45-minute trip. Took us 3.5 hours. So now this is already 5.5 hours that it's taken me to get from the airport to central London. By the time we got there, because of the huge delay, the tube, which is their version of the subway, was closed.
Huh.
So we couldn't go just straight over back towards her flat. And originally the driver was telling us that he heard something about, the company trying to set up taxis or something like that for us, just because we got delayed and we couldn't take it. And turns out they decided not to do that, and they essentially told us we had to find our own way home. So we had to try to figure out a bus route. So we're walking around for a half hour in, I swear to God, like 10-degree weather. I'm not dressed for 10-degree weather because I didn't think we were gonna fucking go through that, because I thought we would just be able to simply take the fucking tube. And then we finally get on the bus, and because it's a bus system and it's not the way we were originally gonna go, we then had to walk for a half hour to get from the bus stop to her flat. And then I get home and find out that I'm not flying back Sunday. I'm flying back Saturday. So I had to get 4 hours of sleep to then get up and then take the tube all the way out to Heathrow to prepare for a flight. Guess what? It gets worse.
Gets delayed.
It got delayed for fucking 3 hours. So I had to sit in the airport for 3 more hours. And then guess what else I know? While I'm waiting there, they have the queue of all the flights to come because they didn't tell me what gate to go to yet.
Yeah.
And flights start getting canceled. Multiple ones got delayed and flights just started getting canceled. I think my flight was the first one to stop being canceled.
Wow.
Out of the whole train. And I was able to fly back. We caught a fucking tailwind and we fucking booked it there. It was supposed to be a 10-hour flight. We made it in like 9 hours. Pilot was like, I am not letting you guys get delayed any further. Raw.
So when did you finally get back into Sacramento?
I flew into SFO, so I didn't fly directly to SAC, and I ended up getting in at about, I think it was 6:30 our time.
Okay.
Or wait, was it a bit earlier? Maybe it was like 5:30. No, wow, I'm really fucking stupid. It was about 4:45 by the time I got all the way through customs and everything.
Okay.
And we had to drive back, which coming back from the Bay, for those of you who don't know, because you have never lived in California, coming from the Bay inland into the Valley, traffic at that time is fucking crazy. So that was another 2.5 hour thing. So I mean, I wasn't home until like well after 7. I fucking came in, dropped my bags, and I was like done. I made dinner. I talked to you, Gunny, for a bit. I messaged a couple people, and I realized that all my backlog stuff from FC could fucking wait 2 days, and I went to fucking bed.
Yeah, you just crashed. I remember that. You're like, I'm going to bed now. Good night.
I was just fucking tired. I was wiped. I think you can see why. My last day was fucking horrible.
Yeah. Just a lot of stress, but at least you got home without getting your flight canceled, 'cause that probably would have caused so many problems.
That would have been hilarious. I literally would have just taken the tube back to Gabby's flat and just showed up, and she would have been like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, not that she wouldn't have wanted to see me.
Yeah.
Like, why are you here? And I've just been like, well, babe, my flight was canceled. I'm staying in London. I guess I have to contact my professors and let them know that I won't be attending this week. till I can get another flight. Oh, and that would have been really bad because they probably would have made me pay for the new flight, and then I would have had to fucking bitch at people.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been fun at all, wouldn't it?
I would have lost my shit. Been like, the fuck I'm paying for another goddamn flight. I already paid $1,000 for this fucking round trip thing. Fuck you.
So how much money total do you think you spent on the whole trip?
Almost $2,000.
Yeah.
It was, and then Gabby spent about probably close to 1,000, so. It was worth it. The last part there was really fucking stressful and just annoying though.
Yeah, well, definitely some good stories, and I think people will look at that, and if they ever do plan a trip, especially to Italy now, they'll know what not to do.
Don't go to Florence. Like, take a day trip to Venice, and spend your time in Rome.
Yeah.
Don't even bother with the rest of it. And then, like, hit up Milan for, like, if you're into fashion or shopping or anything. But I don't know how many of you guys are.
We're talking to, like, 95% men, but...
Just saying, like, okay? I'm just giving them advice.
I'm actually surprised you didn't go to Rome.
We thought about it. See, we originally were gonna do, Florence with a day trip to Venice.
Yeah.
Just because for me and her, that's way more interesting for the most part. But then it turns out we didn't know that most of the cool shit that is supposed to be in those cities was moved to either Rome or Paris or London or New York. So it was kind of a bust just because it wasn't advertised well. Also, both of our families have been to Florence and they really, really liked it. And I don't know where the fuck they got their information from or what was recently changed because there was not much to like.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's go from that. That was definitely good. So let's go from that and we'll transition into some, Forerunner Conflict news. This is just came out yesterday. If you watched the Rooster Teeth Halo 4 fails that came out yesterday, you would have noticed maybe a familiar face. Our good old friend Coagulation was featured.
I believe his tag was originally when he first signed up Hydro, by the way. Just let you guys know.
And then he changed it to Coagulation with a 0. And, he was featured on the Halo 4 fails for Rooster Teeth, so bravo.
He is the first fucking fail in the video.
Yeah, bravo on that.
And to quickly sum it up for those of you who either haven't watched it or if you plan to, essentially he fucking ran and did this jump and an ordnance came down on his head and killed him. And I think what kind of surprised Jack and Jeff most from Rooster Teeth is the fact, and I think they even mentioned it, is when he died, his body fell and his hand went over his face on his head like, oh no, this is not me.
Yeah, those ordnance drops cause problems. I know, like, one of my first games of Halo 4, I was on Ragnarok and I jumped in a Banshee. And someone's ordnance shot me out of the sky.
I was in that game with you and I remember that because I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I'm like in mid just fucking shit up and all of a sudden I hear you scream. And I'm like, what? And you're like, ah! My Banshee! And I'm like, what? And you're like, the ordnance took out my fucking Banshee!
Yeah, it killed me, and it was like, you were killed by the Guardians. It was like, what the fuck? Like, the ordnance literally shot me out of the sky. That was so bullshit, but whatever.
The ordnance was stuck mid-air.
Yeah.
And I remember I tried to, like, fly with the Banshee and then jump out and then jetpack to grab it, and I couldn't get it.
Yeah, that was actually someone's ordnance. They didn't get to get it, because it was like 20 feet up in the air.
Oh god, they should definitely fix that. Like it should spawn through people or something. I don't know. That's just, I feel like that's just such a shitty way to die.
Yeah, I know one thing I want changed is when you call an ordnance and you like go on top of it, it can hurt you. I don't like that, but that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, that's our, I don't know. We'll have another things we still can't stand about Halo 4 because 343 hasn't finished listening to all our podcasts. That's what we'll name it.
And also, the attack plans for next week's Battle Night have been posted. Red is attacking the Pit and Blue is attacking Strong Side. There are no battles this week because of Easter, but be prepared next week.
To clarify, just so all of you know, when Gunny says this week, he means yesterday.
Yeah, cause we're recording this on a Sunday.
But just letting you guys know that, he means Easter Sunday we didn't have battles, and this upcoming Sunday we'll have a battle. Just letting you guys know so you don't like, oh, we don't have a battle this Sunday.
Yeah, that'll probably get me in trouble. Field marshals will start bitching at me.
Yeah, the field marshals just be like, where the fuck did you get that information from? It's like, Gunny told me.
But yeah, once again, Red is attacking the Pit, an old Halo 3 map, and, Blue is attacking Strong Side.
I gotta say, our version of the Pit I actually like very much.
It is very, it does an honor to the old Pit map, which is a very good Halo 3 map.
Strong Side, I haven't, had the ability to see it. I just got back, so I haven't even been able to do anything with my squad yet, but.
Yeah, my squad was able to practice on it a little bit. It's a pretty good map. It's a big team map. A lot of buildings, a lot of corners to hide behind. It's a pretty good map.
I like corners.
Also, one of the new announcements recently is that we are now doing universal recruitment and universal boot camps. The guys behind that are Spartan BH, Ghost Hammer, Juggernaut, and Zeta Crossfire. So now instead of doing army-specific boot camps, we will be doing universal boot camps for red and blue, and we'll be also recruiting for both armies. So you're no longer just recruiting for red or blue anymore, you're recruiting for Forerunner Conflict.
The recruitment I'm definitely for. By the way, quick heads up, I don't think the boot camps are official yet. It's just been talked about. Like, I believe they're coming. I don't think it's officiated
okay.
yet, what I'm saying.
It's coming, okay.
And by the way, to any of you, 5 out there that we listed, or 4, whichever it was, definitely let us know, if we're correct or incorrect about that. Yeah, I'm fine with universal recruitment. I kinda like that, just letting the recruits choose a bit more. I don't like universal boot camps personally.
Okay, why?
I kinda see it as let each army run their own. And I know we've talked about this before and you've said that it kinda breeds hostility and all that kinda stuff. And for me, I'm just like, I don't know, I like each army just kinda doing their own thing. I know for at least blue, and I know this because I'm a DI for blue, we have, you know, like, this whole area, just the way that we've done it, we've kind of structured it for blue.
Uh-huh.
And it's just kind of ceremonial.
I think part of the reason they're doing this is for one, they want to make sure boot camps are being done right, and they also, want to make sure recruits can get through boot camps quicker now that they have 2 armies working together instead of just one.
Yeah, and I definitely understand that. The thing that I still am not a big fan of though is I definitely commend especially Ghost Hammer and Juggernaut, because I'm pretty sure you guys have talked about this extensively, and not trying to, like, you know, exclude you, Spartan BH, or the work that you're doing, Zeta, despite you being new. And that wasn't an attack at you either. It's just, like, I understand you guys want us to be doing boot camps correctly, and I totally commend that, and I like that, and I agree with that. What I feel, though, is have a team that makes sure everybody knows what they're doing and how to run one, but I don't think we need to run them all through the same thing. It's just kind of like, and I know, Gunny, you said you don't want to breed hostility or anything. It's like you don't see North Korean troops going through a boot camp with U.S. troops. And I know your whole thing is, well, we're a community. My whole thing is, but more importantly, we're a war sim.
Yeah, I guess so, but I think when you look at it, we're all friends. Like, I mean, it's not like we hate each other or anything, so I think it's important to work together, especially on things that, like recruitment that can help the community as a whole.
Yeah, recruitment I'm fine with. And also in terms of I'm just not a big fan for boot camps, but also in terms of when you were saying getting them through quicker. I know at least Nick for Blue has been working with me. I'm actually one of the guys in charge of making sure that people go from enlistment to boot camp to squad.
Uh-huh.
And I think if each army just kind of made sure that they had a, you know, set of people that is dedicated to that, I don't think that timing should be a problem at all.
Uh-huh.
It's just, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of having mixed boot camps. Cause I feel like if you're recruited, that's one thing, but the second you're in a boot camp, like, that's when you start for your army. Like,
okay.
Going through boot camp is where you go from recruit to private, you know what I mean?
I can definitely understand that.
It's like, that's where you're starting in your army, and like, having universal people, it's kinda nice, cause I know for me, when I'm determining where people are gonna go in terms of squad placement, I even try to have the squad CO present with me. So they kind of meet me, and I'll usually have some other GI, so they kind of know a couple people that are officers in the army, and then they can even get to meet their squad leader, and they can be a part of that. And it's just, I feel it really helps in terms of cohesion of our army. Which cohesion of FC is important as a whole, but I especially feel that it's cohesion within your own army that I really feel is important.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I've been here long enough where I've experienced both systems, both the army-specific boot camps and the universal boot camps. The army-specific ones, they definitely are a little more, army-oriented. You learn more about the army as a whole instead of, whereas the universal one would be a little less personal. It would be more community-wide. I know definitely with the army-specific ones, you get a feel for the army you're going into instead of just the community as a whole.
You do, and that's kind of what I mean. Like, it's just that it's tailored more.
Uh-huh.
You know what like, in a universal one, you're not gonna talk about everything. Like, for me, especially because being in charge of it, I contact squad COs, I see who needs people, I see where they're gonna be placed, that kind of stuff. Like, I can kind of let them know, like, you're gonna be in this company, under this battalion. These are the people that are running it. This is kind of what your squad's known for. This is kind of your guys' thing, that kind of stuff. So they know what they're getting into, which you just don't have in a universal boot camp. Like, you might mention who the field marshal is for each army, but that's about it. Like, you're not really gonna go into depth because, I mean, then it would kind of be crossing, army boundaries in a way.
Okay. So you are for the universal recruitment, but you're not a big fan of the universal boot camps.
No, I feel that they're not necessarily a horrible thing. Like, I don't think this is gonna break FC.
Oh, no.
It's just, I feel that it's, I feel it'd be better if each army to their own, essentially.
Okay. I can respect that, and I think a lot of other people can too.
Yeah, it's similar, like, I'd have the same response, and I know people might not see these as the same thing, as if we had a division, like, specifically designated to teaching squad leaders of each army how to run their own stuff.
Okay.
It's in that same thing for me, where it's just like, let them do their own thing.
But yeah, people, once again, have their own ideas and opinions on what will help the community. But, I don't think this will break FC like you said. But, I definitely can see where it can help, especially getting recruits through faster, and maybe, making sure boot camp is being done better and more efficiently. Yeah,
I'd say, of course, that there's pros and cons to each side. You've been here long enough, and you even said you've seen both systems. Which one do you feel worked better?
You know what, personally, I like the army specific boot camps just because once again you get introduced to the culture of that army, and it's always been this way. The red and blue are never the same in how they run their armies. They're very different. If you're in blue and go to red, you're gonna know something very different. If you go from red to blue, you're gonna know something very different. I like that where you're introduced to that, and it's a lot more personal. The universal boot camps, I understand where they're going with that, but, I would much rather like to see it stay army specific. Yeah.
And I can definitely, like I said, understand both sides. In terms of what you said with, the way in which it's just more specific and more tailored, I definitely like that a lot.
And I think it makes it easier for people to be placed into squads because, you have people who are familiar with each army and they would know where, like, this person would be fit better. Whereas I don't know if the people running the universal boot camps would really know that.
Oh, definitely. Like, I know, and what they could do is essentially have placement done elsewhere. Like, each army places their own. But that gets a little tricky. Like, I know there are certain squads, and I'm not gonna say anything just because people might get a buck up their ass about me giving away blue secrets or some shit. Just like, certain squads are known for certain things, or certain character traits, or personality, or anything. And I can kind of maybe have a set idea where people are gonna go, but say somebody strikes me and I'm just like, they totally belong in that squad. Like, they would just fit in so well. Like, I can tailor it to them. And I think that helps both the squad and the individual, the recruit, because, everybody's kind of getting where they're supposed to be. And also what you said, both armies are different in the way in which they run things.
Yes.
And that's always been true. That's a whole nother thing. Like, I feel Universal would work a tiny bit better maybe if we changed it so everybody's running on the same system.
They're running on the same system, it's just their culture's different, that's all.
Okay, then I guess I misunderstood you. But do you see what I mean? Like, if the armies weren't so different, I guess Universal, I would say, might work better. Yeah. But as it is, I think Army Specific is better. But at this point, we're starting to beat a dead horse. So I think, Gunny, it'll be time for us to transition into a quick break. And
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, so all of you guys stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to have a probably pretty lengthy video game discussion. What would you say about that, Gunny?
I think it'll be pretty lengthy. Opinions.
So, opinions. Yeah, my specialty. So yeah, all of you guys stay tuned. We will be right back after this break.
Welcome back into the FC podcast. I hope you enjoyed the break.
I didn't. Gunny fucking delayed us for 10 minutes.
I delayed us.
You delayed us.
Oh, mister, I giggle like a girly man over here.
Oh, what the fuck? You know, fuck you, bitch. I'm done. You can record the podcast on your own, bitch. Rack City, bitch. Rack City, bitch.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, that's copyright. We'll get in trouble.
Oh, actually, speaking of which, before we go into our next segment, for any of you guys who haven't seen the fucking music video for that, you need to, because I think they're a little confused. The song is Rack City, but they just show chicks' asses the whole time.
Oh, dear lord.
Which, last time I checked, Rack is up top. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Maybe they're using different logic than us, Brandon.
Well then fucking, they're stupid. End of...
Anyway, so I was thinking, Forerunner Conflict is a community full of gamers. We are all gamers in some sort of respect. We all have a common interest in Halo. I mean, we are a Halo community, but we do have interest in other games. And I came up with the idea that, me and Toast, we should share our best single player and our best multiplayer games. You know, like our personal favorites from each of those. And what I was hoping is when we do ours, you respond to in the podcast topic that we create, with your favorite single player and multiplayer games. So, Toast, how about you start us off with your top 5 single player, starting with number 5?
Okay, we're gonna go number 5, and we'll probably discuss each one. Number 5 for me, top single, has to go to Pokemon Crystal version.
And why is that?
That one's in my top 5. Pokemon was one of the first things that I really, really started gaming. I mean, I've been gaming since I was probably like 3 or 4, really, really young. But, you know, when you're at that age, you're just kind of doing shit.
Yeah.
Like, that was when I really, really got to understand. Like, I got Pokemon, I want to say, it was blue first. Or was it red? It was one of the two. And, I got that right when I got my Game Boy Color, and I want to say that I was like 5 or 6.
Okay.
And at this point I was fully reading and fully comprehending things. This is when I was reading the dictionary and shit. And, it was amazing. I loved it. And then the second gen came out. And for any of you guys out there who have played second gen of Pokemon, oh my god, it was amazing. And I think we can all attest to that. Gunny here can't because he skipped second gen, which is a fucking huge disappointment because that was the best generation. They introduced Night and Day. They introduced, 2 new types of Pokemon, both Dark and Steel. Friendship involving evolution, Pokemon breeding. You went back to Kanto after completing the Johto gyms, like, you know, what was it, like 10 years after the events of the first couple games?
Uh-huh.
So you went through all those gyms and did all that again, meeting people that you used to know, but like, everything had kind of changed, like the cities were different and stuff. It was fucking amazing. I can't really recommend that you guys play it now because I don't think it'll have the same vibe, if you know what I mean. Uh-huh. It's kind of one of those things you had to be there for. But, yeah, definitely that has to be up there. Crystal specifically, just because that was the last one of that generation, and for any of you guys out there who know, there's 2 that come out that are relatively similar, and then the third one's kind of the special one.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the third one for the first gen was yellow, and you had Pikachu, and you were able to get all 3 starters and kind of follow Ash's storyline. And Crystal was just great because it got into the whole backstory with Suicune and, you know, how Johto was formed with Ho and Lugia and all that kind of stuff, and it was just great.
My number 5 is Batman Arkham City. I actually recently played this not that long ago, a couple weeks ago. It's Batman, it's like Arkham Asylum, which I loved. The gameplay was great, the fighting mechanics were great. But then they take Batman and they put him in this open world environment in the super prison of Arkham City. And I loved all the side missions you could do. I loved, like, the openness of it all. You know, you could fly anywhere you wanted within the city grounds. And, the story was great. It had a really sad ending. It was a great game. I know Brandon here is gonna play it very soon. I'm probably gonna loan it to him next time I see him.
Actually, you know what? Actually, when we get done recording this, Gunny, I think I'm gonna drive over real quick and pick it up.
Okay.
Because I need to play it. Like, I'm very much anticipating that. Yeah. I'm a huge superhero fan, for those of you guys who don't know, and it'll probably be included in one of the, discussions we'll have where I actually talk about my criterion for superhero, which Gunny here loves my conversation on that one.
But yeah, they take Batman and they put it in an open world environment, you know, they have all the things that made Arkham Asylum great, and they just ran with it. I mean, it's a perfect example of building on your first game and making it even better.
I'm definitely looking forward to playing it. And for those of you guys out there who haven't played either that or Arkham Asylum, go do it. Go do it now. It's good.
Okay, Toast, so what would be your number 4?
Let me think. Alright, so I've been thinking. When life hands you lemons, don't make lemonade. Get mad! Coming in at number 4 for me has got to be Portal 2. Portal overall was great for me. I thought it was unique. I thought it was different. I loved it. The storyline was great. And Portal 2, I mean, Portal 1, for those of you guys who don't know, it wasn't intended to become a series. It was just kind of a little thing that Valve did. It wasn't, they didn't even really intend for it to take off like it did. It just fucking skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So the second one. And the second one had all these secret things you could find, like you could find the, turrets practicing for the Karamiya at the end. You could find all the Ratman stuff. It got into the backstory. It had oh my god, Cave Johnson, who was probably my number 2 for favorite video game character of all time.
Cave Johnson was great. He made the entire middle of that game.
Oh, he was just amazing. His personality, his snark, it was just great. Like I said, it was totally unique in terms of storyline. The characters were great. And so yeah, coming in at number 4 has gotta be Portal 2.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Portal 2, but my number 4 would be, Red Dead Redemption. That game, I mean, you don't see the old Western, genre given much respect in the gaming world, and Rockstar really came and they did it right. It was great gameplay, the environment was also great. You had all these side challenges like the hunting ones, and you could go after gangs and gang leaders and things, and it was so good, and, the ending of that game, I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but the ending of that game was one of the best that I've seen in video games. It was great.
Yeah, it definitely was. In terms of environment, that game was great for me. I loved it lots. The challenges that you actually talked about, because I'm a completionist whore, I did fucking everything in that game. I even got some of the DLC and did all that.
Oh yeah, the DLC for that was great. I played the Undead Nightmare. That was fun. That was great.
It was. Just the game overall was amazing.
And then what would be your number 3?
Actually, speaking of Red Dead, it actually comes in as number 3 for me as well. But tied. Number 3 is going to be a tie, but I'll address something else with Red Dead first. When Rockstar announced that they were going to do that, they were told by everyone that they were going to fail.
Oh.
And that's because they said that 1, no one was interested in the Old West, and 2, for those of you who don't know, Red Dead Redemption was a sequel game.
Yeah, it was. People forget that.
It came after Red Dead Revolver, which was a game from, I want to say, back in 2006.
And I hear it was really terrible.
It was terribad. Oh my god. It was god awful. And so coming on the heels of that, everybody just expected Red Dead to fail. Hardcore. And I would say it did the exact opposite. That game fucking rose to new heights for me. But tied with that for number 3, speaking of since I've just been in Florence, Assassin's Creed 2. Number 2.
Great
number
game.
1 was good. Brotherhood and Revelations are amazing in terms of the follow-up. 3 sucked ass in my opinion, but that's its own tirade for later on. I'll definitely address that. I've been meaning to, and I'm gonna get to that. I'm also going to address why I can't stand the fact that Black Flag is coming out. But, yeah, just Assassin's Creed 2 was amazing. The environment, the way that it felt, the free running, which is something you don't see very often in games. I won't say that they were the ones who pioneered it, because they definitely didn't. I'm trying to remember which did. I think it was Prince of Persia that did the first free running. Correct me if I'm wrong, people out there listening. And just the way that it was, the introduction of Ezio, who's probably number 1 in terms of my favorite characters of all time.
Really? Okay.
Oh, Ezio Auditore da Firenze, my god, he's amazing. Perfect Renaissance. You start the game, I mean, aside from him being a baby, you start him with this brawl where he's just this badass and don't give no fucks. And then you climb this huge tower, which takes some balls, and then how do you conclude that? By jumping off the fucking building and going and sneaking into your girlfriend's window to fuck her.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, you've got so much snark and class and anger and just, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I remember the beginning of that game, very well. It was very movie-like, I remember.
It was, and just the way they did it was great. And not to even discredit the Desmond storyline, that'll actually be included in the tirade where I rant about AC as a whole. But yeah, just that game was amazing. Going all the way through, Florence and Venice and being there for Carnival and all that, it was just great.
Now my number 3, it's probably on a lot of people's list. It is a great game. It's vast. It's awesome. It's Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. The Dragonborn. Fun little story. Before this game, I was never a big fan of, the whole medieval magic and swords and dragons.
He hated it. He hated it.
It just didn't roll with me. And then a friend of ours, Cassidy, he had it on PS3, and this is back when I had a PS3. He brought it over and played it on my PS3, and I was looking, I was like, this actually looks kinda cool. And, I actually tried it on the PS3 first, and I enjoyed it, so I went out and bought it, and I put so much of my life into that game.
Oh, no, you haven't. That'll be addressed in a second, but no, you haven't.
Like, that game was great. The characters were great. All the side missions. Like, Brandon even said there's too much to do in that game. Like, I can't believe, like, someone would say that, but there really is too much to do in that game.
One does not simply finish Skyrim.
Exactly.
Okay? You just don't. Like, I went back to it recently and started playing again because I got the, new Dragonborn DLC. Well, it's not new anymore, but I had to delay getting it. And, like, I was finding quests that were part of the original game that I never even fucking knew about.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have, speaking of which, I want to say 5 playthroughs, at least 3 of those with over 150 hours clocked. That's what I meant by you have not poured your life into that game.
Yeah, you know, Skyrim is one of those games where, multiple playthroughs can definitely be very, unique because they're different for whatever species you choose.
And not only this, like, the species definitely determines, like, the atmosphere. Like, I mean, walking into, like, you know, Windhelm as a fucking dark elf, or as a fucking Argonian.
Yeah.
Or a Khajiit. It's great, cause it's so different than if you play through, for example, as like a Nord.
Yeah.
And, you know, speaking about, Skyrim here, that actually leads me to my number 2 favorite game of all time. And here's another tie for those of you out there who are going, this is supposed to be a top 5. Fuck you, it's our podcast, I do what I want. It's another tie again, and they're by the same publisher at this point, so I don't really feel like it's too bad of a tie, but it's between Skyrim and Fallout New Vegas.
Okay.
For me, Skyrim was great. I love the Elder Scrolls series. My first Elder Scrolls game was Oblivion, and I played the shit out of Oblivion. I loved it. The only problem with Oblivion was the leveling problem. For those of you who have ever played it, you know what I'm talking about. And essentially what it was as you progress, the enemies get harder because your skills are supposed to get better, but the way that their leveling was determined, you could level without actually getting stronger.
Uh-huh.
And so things would get to the point where the game was almost unplayable if you didn't choose things correctly when you first started out. If you play Oblivion, you usually scrap your first playthrough because you learn how you play it, and you also know what your strengths are, and you tailor your character to it very early on. But, yeah, getting back to Skyrim, I had to play Skyrim when it came out. I got it when it first came out. I've went back and I've played a bit of Morrowind. Morrowind's a bit hard to play it because I only have it on my computer, and it's weird playing it, the version that I have, because it's a cracked version, because I'm cheap. I've done a tiny bit of Daggerfall, which that I need to do more of. Daggerfall and Morrowind, though, are great in terms of just atmosphere and conversation. You can talk to one person for a half hour, the way the dialogue is set up. But, yeah, and like I had said, Fallout New Vegas, for me, that game was amazing. I'm a huge fan of the Fallout series. I've played all the Fallouts except for Brotherhood of Steel, just because the way it's set up. It's kind of like Halo Wars. And
I think it's even on like the PS1 or something like that. Or, I think on the original Xbox, right?
What, Fallout 2?
No, the Brotherhood of Steel.
Oh yeah, it might be. I haven't looked too much into it just because I don't care, but I have Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 on my computer. Gunny, I remember getting you the links for that.
Yes, I've also played through all the Fallout games.
Fallout 3 was good, and it was better than New Vegas in terms of storyline, but I can't play it for long, it gives me a headache. We determined, Gunny here and I both did, that it's that greenish blue light that gives me a headache. Yeah, and Fallout 3 is very greenish blue. There's a section that's underground in a dwarven ruin, in Skyrim that actually gives me a headache as well. I think it's called Blackreach or something like that.
Oh yeah, I remember Blackreach, yeah.
Yeah, it just it's the glowing mushrooms and just the glow gives me this huge fucking headache. Like, I don't know why, it cripples me. But, Fallout 3 is definitely great. Why I rank New Vegas better though is I'm a total sucker for the, different, you know, types of ammo. Yeah. Those were amazing. The storyline was great. It just, the vibe of that game. I mean, meeting Benny at the very beginning, like his little monologue was just beautiful. I like that they introduced factions again. That was around for anybody out there who has played it in Fallout 2. They have all the different factions and you have a reputation with each one, so your choices actually matter a bit more. Like, in Fallout 3, you could kind of play both sides because it was karma that determined things, but you could play both sides if you knew how to mess with your karma. In New Vegas, it takes a bit more finagling. I actually have a playthrough where I'm idolized by every faction. There's a way to do it, and I figured it out, and I spent a lot of time planning out each quest, but I was able to do it. That one, just like Skyrim, I want to say I have maybe 4 accounts.
Yeah.
And they all have over 150 hours. My main one, which had, I want to say 250 hours after I did all the DLC, that one actually got corrupted and I had to delete it. And I was pissed. But, yeah, I've clocked tons of time in there. New Vegas was great. The only thing that sucked about that game was the karma system. If it had Fallout 3's karma system and storyline writing, it would have been probably my number 1.
Well, I'm going to counter your Fallout New Vegas for my number 2, and I'm going to say Fallout 3 as my number 2.
Headaches.
I liked it better than New Vegas. For one, I liked the environment better. I really dug the Capital Wasteland more than I did the Mojave Desert. Also, I liked how the storyline was a little more personal. You grew up in the vault, like you actually grew up in the vault, which I thought was really cool. And then you escape the vault, even though that's not really a spoiler anyway. But, and then also you go out finding your father, and, I forget the name of the place, but it's a little black and white area where, you talk to this little girl.
I know the name of the place. I won't say it for anybody out there with spoilers, because that's a major turning point in the game.
But yeah, that was great. Like, the overall environment and feel of the game was awesome. While it doesn't have the mod system that New Vegas has with your weapons, the gameplay is still pretty well. I mean, it's not like a world-class first-person shooter, but that's not what it's supposed to be anyway. The dialogue options are cool. I like the characters a little more in Fallout 3 than I do New Vegas. Three Dog especially. Three Dog is awesome.
Three Dog was great. Yeah. He goes down as my favorite radio announcer of all time, living or dead or even real. I just love Three Dog.
Yeah, and I think the DLC in Fallout 3 was a lot better than New Vegas.
That's where I totally disagree with you.
Really?
100%. 100%. The DLC was good in Fallout 3. Here's what I'll say about in terms of environment in Fallout 3.
Uh-huh.
The environment wasn't as great.
Really?
Yeah. And I think the reason why I feel that is like the Capital Wasteland was cool and everything was kind of destroyed. But I guess it was the way that they did it where the destruction started to look very similar, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
It didn't look like they had much variance, which they really didn't. And you guys are gonna say, well, in New Vegas, it's all sand. To which my counter is, do you know how alone you feel when you play New Vegas?
I think you feel alone in any Fallout game. I always feel that in any Fallout game. You feel alone.
I don't know why. In New Vegas, here's why I felt it more. Because in Fallout 3, you had more raider attacks.
Okay.
So you didn't feel as alone. The wasteland felt more populated. In New Vegas, when you're walking between settlements, there's like nothing. Like, it really is barren.
I think that's understandable anyway. I mean, you're not gonna have many people in the Mojave Desert, but then in Washington, D.C., that's a high populated area.
Definitely, yeah. And like I said, I understand that. I don't know, I guess, although there was destruction all around you in Fallout 3, which made it feel like wasteland, it was emptiness of the Mojave that for me screamed wasteland.
Yeah, I think one thing about Fallout 3 is you had like almost 2 different areas. Like the ruins of DC felt like a completely different area than the outskirts by the mountains. I thought that was really cool.
And definitely I'll give you that, but then my counter-argument is, although it wasn't as big, the Strip felt way different than the rest of the Mojave.
Well, duh, because the Strip looks like it wasn't even touched by nukes, which it wasn't, but...
Yeah, it wasn't exploded directly, little Fallout thing there. But, no, it's just like, I don't know, I guess it was just the feel. I don't know, I felt the environment was better in New Vegas, and I think part of it for me there is the factions. Because there were clear faction lines, like they weren't drawn into the map, but you knew when you were going into a rival territory kind of thing.
Yeah, Fallout 3 was a little weak on that. You had the Brotherhood of Steel, you had the Enclave, you had the Brotherhood Outcast, and they had like Raiders. That was pretty much it.
And they didn't really have clearly defined areas. Like, the way in which those people would spawn in the wasteland was completely random.
Yeah, they had random encounters, yeah.
Yeah, in New Vegas you have random encounters, but per certain areas. Like, if you're in an NCR area, you get NCR spawns.
Yeah,
like, you're not gonna have, like, you know, a Brotherhood of Steel outcast spawn there, because it's just, that's not the fucking place for it.
I know one thing in particular in Fallout 3. There's the big, I think the Brotherhood of Steel base in Washington, D.C. is the Citadel.
Yes.
And then literally, like... I want to say 100 to 200 feet away from that is a raider camp.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would think the Brotherhood of Steel would clear that out, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, like, and that's what I'm saying. Like in New Vegas, in the NCR areas, you have a bunch of NCR bases that are close together.
Yeah.
And then as you get further away, the camps get at a further distance from each other, the way that it's spaced, which I thought was really cool. And it's not till you really get to the outskirts that you start to have like raider camps.
Yeah. Well, then now let's transition into, your number one best single player game you've played.
I think this might be the same for you, Gunny, so correct me if I'm wrong, but Half-Life 2!
Yes! It's also my number one. Half-Life motherfucking 2. Game of the decade!
Game of the motherfucking decade! Oh my god. For those of you who haven't played Half-Life 2, first off, go and download Black Mesa. It's a remake, using the Half-Life 2 engine. A bunch of independent modders did it, and it's free for download. Download it and play it so you've played the first game of the series, because the story is very important in that series. And then go out and buy Orange Box. Go and buy Orange Box.
Because then that has everything you need. It has, Team Fortress 2, it has Half-Life 2 and all its episodes, and Portal 1, if you haven't played that.
Yeah, so you get 5 games for the price of 1, and even now it's only like $20, $15.
Oh yeah, it's real cheap.
$15.
You're getting 5 games for fucking $10. $15.
It's great. Half-Life 2 was just amazing though. The atmosphere was beautiful. I love the episodes a lot. They had better story because things were able to progress quicker.
Uh-huh.
But in terms of overall game, Half-Life 2 with the length of both episodes combined, the storyline was amazing. You have the introduction of G-Man, who's just, well, not the introduction, but you don't really get a full sense of him in Half-Life 1.
Yeah, in Half-Life 1, he's very mysterious and he only talks like once. And, you're left in the dark. In Half-Life 2 and its episodes, you get a little more light on him, even though it's not much. You're still like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, but you get a bit more. The environment was great. It's totally unique in terms of first-person shooters.
Yeah, it is. It's great. I mean, their physics engine is good. I've never seen an FPS balance gameplay and puzzles like Half-Life does. It is genius. It's genius.
Definitely, and then just the storyline, like, I don't know how to describe the plot in, like, short terms that don't give something away. It's beautiful.
It's great. It's one of the best plots for an FPS or any game I've ever seen.
And it definitely goes out there, I mean, to, like I was saying, to people who haven't played it, this is on the need to play list. Like, I don't care what you're playing right now. I don't care if it's BioShock Infinite. I don't care if it's fucking, what's the other one that came out recently, Gunny? Oh yeah, Gears of War Judgment.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're playing Halo 4. I don't care if you have to skip a squad practice. Everyone's gonna hate me for saying this. Go and play Half-Life 2. It is such an enriching experience.
It's great, and the gameplay might seem a little aged, but even then it's not. It's great. I mean, the story is worth it. It's so personal, and that game makes me feel feels a feelness. It's so great.
Age, I'm gonna have to totally disagree with you. Half-Life 2 is the game that I play with its episodes yearly. I play that game at least once, sometimes twice a year.
I do too. It's that good.
I never get tired of that game.
Yeah. It has a combination of gameplay and story, both on a personal level and on like a grand scheme. It's so awesome, and I'm so sad that Valve hasn't come out with Half-Life 3 or Episode 3.
We'll get to that later. All of my anger and hate in one little ball towards one game.
Yeah, there's a lot of hate from both of us and a lot of other people toward Valve on that one, especially after they released 2 Left 4 Dead games and no Half-Life games. Although I will forgive them because they did release Portal 2. But even then, they had a little Half-Life Easter egg in there, which is kind of a fuck you to the fans.
Not even an Easter egg. Parts of Half-Life 3 are in the coding of Portal 2.
Uh-huh.
So if you play it on the computer, you can find parts of Half-Life 3, like certain, like, textures and stuff.
Yeah, oh my god.
But yeah, I think we'll transition now after we did our top 5 single, and we'll go into top 5 multiplayer. Gunny, why don't you start us up with your number 5 top multiplayer game of all time?
My number 5 top multiplayer game is Minecraft. That's another game I recently started playing a couple months ago.
Again.
Yeah, he introduced me to that one. And at first I was like, I don't know, it seems kind of blocky. I don't know, I don't see the interest. But then I played it and I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. It's an open world. Survival mode is probably my favorite, because you're thrown in the middle of this environment and you have to survive. You have to get food, you have to build a shelter, and it's 10 times better with friends. You can build a shelter together or separately, and creative mode, you're limitless on what you can do. It really is. I mean, it's awesome.
It's great for just building cool shit.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some videos and some pictures on the internet of people building these giant castles, and even for Game of Thrones fans out there was this guy a couple months ago who built the entire like realm of Westeros and all 7 of its kingdoms, and I was like, oh my god! Like that kind of stuff is awesome.
Definitely. For me, going into number 5, I've got to say Assassin's Creed Brotherhood / Revelations. I say / just because they weren't too different from one another.
Okay.
It falls off a cliff in terms of Assassin's Creed 3, but that actually has to do with my rant as to what I feel about the whole series, so we'll get to that later in another podcast. For those of you guys who haven't played Assassin's Creed in general, go play it. That's another thing you need to drop everything for, in my opinion. And definitely play the multiplayer. It was unique, is the only way that I can say it. You're an assassin. Well, technically you're a Templar that's using an assassin program to train. That they even put a backstory. There's a story to the reasons and what you're doing in the multiplayer, which I loved.
Yeah.
Like, you're not just senselessly killing.
Halo 4 kind of picked up on that too.
They did, and I definitely love them for that. It just kind of gives it some kind of, rhyme and reason. But essentially, there's a bunch of different game modes. My favorite one, though, is I want to say, I think it's called Hunted, I believe. It's been a while since I've played it. You have a target, and other people have targets. Multiple people can have you as a target, and other people can have your target as a target, and your job is to assassinate them. Yeah. Which kind of sounds kind of boring, but the way is you get points based on how effectively and the kind of style. So, for example, they have a detection system, and if your person sees you coming, you get less points, because you weren't a good assassin.
Yeah.
If you fucking fall out of the sky, kill them, and then go right back into a crowd so no one even fucking saw it, you get more points, because you were a badass fucking assassin. And they had perks, and they had abilities, and just different things that you could use that were kind of like power-ups and stuff, and it was just great. It was so unique. It caught me totally off guard.
Yeah, I never really touched the Assassin's Creed multiplayer. I stuck to its single player more than its multiplayer. But, hold on. Where did that go? Okay. That's for editing. Anyway. But the multiplayer sounds pretty interesting, and I remember when I was telling you about Halo 4 before it came out and how there was going to be a story to the multiplayer, you told me they probably picked that up off of Assassin's Creed because they had that same thing.
Yeah, it was just like, I haven't seen anybody else do it. If somebody did it before Assassin's Creed, again, let me know. All these things that I say to let you know, by the way, you guys are supposed to be sending in listener mail, but we're actually going to get to that later in the show. But yeah, I saw it first there. And so I'm going to shoot that's where they got it.
Okay.
So, Gunny, how about your, number 4 in terms of...
My number 4 would be a game by EA and DICE, and its sequel was recently announced. Battlefield 3. Yeah, I know Brandon over here isn't a big fan of those kind of shooters, but anyway. Battlefield 3, I think this is the way you do a modern shooter. It does everything Call of Duty should be doing. It has great gunfighting. What?
LOL, Call of Duty.
Yeah.
LOL.
Yeah. What a joke. Anyway, and I think the best part is the vehicle combat. Their vehicle combat is awesome, from the tanks to the helicopters, and they have jets in Battlefield 3, which is, I mean, I'm not very good at flying them. I always crash them into the ground. But, it looks fun watching people who fly them who are actually good at it. It's one of those games that I wish I played more online, because usually with the community I'm tied to Halo 4 a lot, and that takes a lot of my online multiplayer time. But I've been taking some time to play Battlefield 3, and it's fun. It really is. Especially with friends, because you can, be a little more tactical, and which in a game like Battlefield 3, that helps a lot.
I will say this, although I can respect Battlefield and all they've done, I personally am not a big fan. For anybody out there, I don't really like realistic war video games.
Uh-huh.
Especially in terms of multiplayer. I guess what it is, they bore me.
Okay.
They bore me to death. It's just kind of like, cool, another gun that shoots the same kind of ammunition. Yippee.
Yeah. I know you've told me that, you don't like it because when you rank up, you get better guns, so it automatically gives higher rank.
That's another thing.
More of an advantage.
Yeah, that's something that I've seen most with, war things like Call of Duty and Battlefield. And that one just kind of bugs me because I don't feel it's balanced. One of the reasons why I love Halo to death is just the way in which it's balanced.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're SR1 or SR130, it's pretty balanced.
Alright, so what would your number 4 be?
Number 4 for me, actually, we've talked about it earlier in the show, is Red Dead.
Redemption, okay.
Red Dead Redemption, which catches a lot of people by surprise. Rockstar has never been known for their multiplayer, but it's something they're working on. They pretty much started quite a bit of their multiplayer experience in terms of the modern way that they do things in GTA 4, which that was interesting. It was just kind of free roam. And then they hit upon it again in Red Dead with this whole free roam idea. And you could either go in specifically for specific types of matches where it was like kind of like a shootout and you had to like run and you start with a pistol and like you have to take cover and shit, and then you can find other weapons scattered throughout the map. And your whole job was, everybody had one life and you had to like kill each member of the other gang, essentially, which was really cool. And the free roam was great. You could get a bunch of people into a posse and just, you could fuck shit up. Like, you could just ride into a town and totally kill everybody else, or you could track people along the map. Like, you had everyone's location on the map, regardless of where they were, and regardless of what posse they were. So you could just hunt them down. I hunted one person from one end of the map to the other, just stalking them. And anytime they tried to shoot me, because I was like fucking beast at that game, I'd shoot their horse and then shoot their fucking like leg or something. Like, it was just like, don't fuck with me.
I've actually played the Red Dead Redemption multiplayer a little bit recently. Me, Spartan BH, and Retarded Monkeys have been playing it, and I was pleasantly surprised to see how fun it actually was. I wasn't sure what it was about. I honestly just thought it was like GTA 4, where you just kind of free roamed around the place, but it actually has some sort of objective. You can go and take out gang members. You can ride around and hunt things. It's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, Gunny, that's kind of what I really liked about it a lot. There were a couple people that I met that are even still on my friends list that I met in Red Dead multiplayer, and just, it was great. That game overall was just amazing, both single player and multiplayer.
Yeah, it really was, and I think we're gonna move on to number 3, and my number 3 was an old Xbox classic, Halo 2. It was actually my first Halo game. I originally played Halo 2 over at my friend Donovan's house, and I fell in love with it. I bought it. I played it online, and that's how I got into FC. But, it had great maps. It had, in my personal opinion, it had the greatest maps in Halo history. You had great ones like Coagulation and Lockout, and its DLC was great too. You had a great map, probably one of the best in Halo, Terminal, which I really wish they'd remake, but that's a whole different story. It did have some glitches though. It kind of felt like an unfinished game. You had the super bounces. And you had the BXR and the BXB, which were little glitches in there too. But overall, that was a great game, and it really revolutionized online gaming on the Xbox. Or on console gaming, really.
I totally agree with you there. I definitely like the maps in it. The maps were really great. In terms of the actual gameplay, I'm not the biggest fan of, but that'll be explained actually later in this lineup here.
Yeah, okay, what was your number 3?
So for me, number 3, we've already mentioned it before, it goes to Minecraft.
Okay.
Minecraft I love, and I'm including it in multiplayer because it's kind of the best way to play it. I was a pretty big Legos kid, which whenever somebody asks me, should I play Minecraft, my response is, it depends, were you a Legos kid? Because if the answer to that is yes, then by all means yes. And if the answer to that is no, my response is still fucking go play it. I actually played Minecraft back when it was in beta form.
Okay.
Believe it or not. When it had just recently come out, like, for people to test out the beta. And you only had, I mean, this is original beta. You had, like, I think 2 different types of sets of tools, and even then it was only a pickaxe and axe, and I don't even think swords were there yet. And a lot of it was, like, dirt and rock and stuff. Like, it wasn't that complex. They were just testing things. And I saw it progress over the ages. I have it both on the Xbox. I need to get it officially on the computer. I have a cracked version once again, because I'm cheap. The modding for it is great. The whole, mod and texture pack community that Minecraft has in terms of the PC version is amazing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've played a little bit of the PC version, and it's great. I know the one thing that got me was that when you craft things, you actually have to, like, put them in a certain order.
Yeah, definitely.
And that caught me off guard at first.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. And like I said, the modding in it is amazing. For me, Minecraft gets really good when you start modding. Tekkit and Technic started out and went big. I mean, Tekkit was great. My only problem with Tekkit is they have what's known as the energy condenser, which essentially, for those of you who haven't played, every object in the game, or most objects in the game and materials that you find, have essentially what's called an EMC value. And you can put something in there, like say if I have 1 diamond, I can put it in the condenser, and then I can feed it essentially other objects as fuel to make more diamonds.
Huh.
And the problem with that is that it breaks the game.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult to make, but not really. Once you make a condenser, it's game over, in my opinion. You just kind of fucking do whatever the fuck you want at that point.
I am God now.
Yeah, you're essentially playing in creative mode on survival.
Yeah.
I used the condenser to make a bunch of marble bricks and a bunch of other stuff, and I made this huge factory, cause that's something that you can do in there, and I basically harvested a bunch of oil from this one oil field, and I turned it into fuel, and then I used that fuel and I combined it with a bucket to make buckets of fuel, which had a huge EMC, which I fed into a condenser to make me literally tons of diamonds and other things, whatever I would need. I made a factory to make me tons of whatever I could ever want. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So how about number 2 for you, Gunny?
Number 2 for me would be an old GameCube classic. It's great to play with friends. It is Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Oh, yes. You and I have spent many an hour playing Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Game came out back in 2001, but it still holds its own. Like, I mean, if you play that game, you can't tell. I mean, the graphics are still somewhat pretty good, and the gameplay, it doesn't age. It doesn't feel aged at all to me.
It doesn't, and here's why. And I will tell you why it doesn't feel aged. Let me explain to everybody here the progression of Super Smash Bros. Games. Super Smash Bros. Comes out on the N64. The way in which that game played was whoever hit first won. End of discussion. You got the first hit in, you were able to get a combo in, you win. And now I'm gonna skip Melee for a reason, and then you go to Brawl, which is the newer one. And that one is, they kind of didn't make it as competitive, and it's more about showiness.
Yeah.
Also, it's on the Wii, which I have a huge gripe against the Wii. I just don't like it. And then you go to, I'll step back now to Melee, which is the one that we're talking about, and it was the most balanced fighter like that I have ever seen.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, every character has their strengths and weaknesses, and if you master them, you can win. It really is, it really hones your skills. If you're a skilled player, you're gonna win. You're not gonna get killed by bullshit by an unskilled player. That's just not gonna happen.
The only time that happens is if they use a couple trump cards with items, but you can even alter that to take those off. I like them because I like having a bit of variability.
Exactly.
But, it was just beautiful the way in which it was done. It had, I wouldn't really call it a campaign, but it had a one-player mode.
Yeah.
Which you could use to unlock new characters and stuff. Like, I mean, to unlock all characters, you have to do quite a big feat, in my opinion.
Yeah, like, it took a lot to totally 100% that game. Something you don't really see a lot these days. Like, it's not something mind-numbing like killing pigeons, cough cough GTA. Like, you actually had to do specific, like, little matches and things. It was really cool.
It definitely was, and overall it was great. It had a whole, like, set of 100 challenges, which were really fun and time-consuming. It was just balanced, which I love. That game, you won if you were skilled. Mm-hmm. And you had to put in time to get skilled at that game.
Yeah.
You are not born a good Melee player.
Yeah.
You have to find the character that fits you perfect, and you have to, stick with it. I think we'll let everybody know here, because I'm pretty sure most people have played this game. What's your go-to character, Gunny? Who's your guy?
I have a couple, actually. Would probably be Mario, Dr. Mario, Dr. Mario, and then Yoshi. Yoshi is another favorite of mine.
I fucking hate Yoshi, but, I digress. The reason why I don't like Mario is because his cape is too much of a trump card, in my opinion. Those of you who don't know, he can just swing his cape and hit anything back at you, which kind of it's a little cheap, in my opinion. It's an opportunist move, which I don't like opportunists in terms of that kind of stuff. My go-to is definitely Samus Aran.
Yeah.
She's my girl, which, yes, for those of you who don't know, Samus is a fucking chick.
Who doesn't know that?
Okay, we're talking about, like, people who sit there and go, oh yeah, I love Zelda. He's awesome. It's the Legend of Zelda, right?
Or Deadmau 5.
Yeah. Oh my god, this was a couple years ago at mine and Gunny's high school, and, there was this guy, this is right when Deadmau was kind of like, getting known, and he was like, yeah, I'm really listening to this new guy, I really like him, his name is Deadmau 5. And I just died, and I was like, it's Deadmau5. And he was like, what? And I was like, it's Deadmau5. And he was like, there's a 5. And I was like, ever heard of Leet? Discussion.
Yeah. What would be your number 2?
My number 2, and people are gonna burn me at the stake for this one. I'm gonna say Halo 4.
Okay, interesting.
I'm gonna say Halo 4. I like Halo 4 more than any other Halo game. And Gunny, I know you're gonna say I wasn't around for the height of Halo with Halo 3 and all that kind of stuff. But I think even if I was, it wouldn't be up there. And here's the reason. And this will be enumerated a bit more when it comes to my number 1. I love class-based FPS. Oh my god. It's great. You have your niche. You can play to your strengths. Everybody has a counter. I think it makes it more balanced. It's more balanced if people know how to play the game. You have to be playing with competent people, of course.
But for me, Halo 4 wins because of customization in terms of the way in which your Spartan looks, which I'm a total little girl for that. The way in which you can customize your loadouts, I love. I don't like a game determining what weapons I'm going to start with. Fuck that. I will start with my go-to. What I use. I can specialize this. I like the challenges, which I know Reach had. I love armor abilities. For me, they add another medium by which you can do things with.
Okay.
And I would say that in terms of Halo 4, everything kind of has the balance. You don't have, for example, armor lock. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have, like, this Trump thing that's just fucking annoying.
It had the bolt shot.
It had the bolt shot, and I'll give it that. But they kind of nerfed it. That needs to be fixed a bit more. That's my biggest gripe with it. But I don't feel I can condemn a game just because of one weapon, if you know what I mean. Like, that's a little low. That's like saying, oh, well, for me, that's the same as, oh, well, this game had one texture I didn't like, so it can't be good.
My gripes with Halo 4, the maps aren't as good. The gameplay, I'm not a big fan of it. It just doesn't feel as good as the other Halo games did. It's something off about it. I can't put my finger on it, but...
I'm gonna take a guess here, and this might be it, and it might be because you're a Halo veteran, but, I think it's too fast for you.
No, that's not the problem at all.
Really? Because, I mean, in comparison to other games, this is the quickest Halo game in terms of the speed of the games.
It is. It's not the fastest of it. That I have no problem with. Because I actually advocated for Sprint to become a default armor ability anyway after Reach, because it made no sense to just have it as, like, this separate little armor ability. But, I don't know, like, loadouts I love on Halo. I think that's fine. I think personalize your loadouts all you want. That's fine. It gives personalization to the game. The armor, the one thing, the armor, it looks like Power Ranger armor. I feel like everyone looks like a Power Ranger. The Reach armor was better.
I don't feel everyone looks like a Power Ranger. There are quite a few pieces in the Halo 4 armory that I'm not a big fan of, like the helmet that you roll, the fucking Locust helmet. I hate that fucking helmet.
I love the Locust helmet.
It's fucking stupid. It's one of the other fucking helmets in Halo 4 that doesn't have a goddamn visor. That's fucking stupid. That's just retarded.
But, I think the main one is maps. Halo 3 and Halo 2 had great maps. And Reach had probably the worst maps. I mean, I'll give Halo 4 this, it had better maps than Reach did. But, I don't know, it's not as fun to me. It just isn't. I don't know what that is though, I can't put my finger on it. For
me, it's just the way it plays. I didn't get to play it on the servers, but I've played it locally with a couple friends. I've played Halo 2 with you. Like I said, I love them for maps. I love Halo 2 in terms of maps. I've played Halo 3 online with you as well as Reach I've played probably the most out of all of them until Halo 4 came along. And, that was just because of my introduction. I wouldn't say introduction, but just when I started getting into console FPFs. But, yeah, it's the way in which it's customized and that kind of stuff that for me makes the game. Like, it lets me not look at the maps as much.
Yeah, well, I think another thing is you're more of a class-based player anyway. And with Halo 4, you can create classes with those loadouts.
Definitely. And I like how you can tailor things to situations. Like I think it's one loadout I want to say where I kind of have just a standard type thing.
Yeah.
That I can go in game while I'm waiting for respawn and customize that loadout to specifically what I need in that game. And it's great. It definitely changes the way in which I think FPSs are done, because since you can change it mid-game like that, and it's a create your own class type thing, you're never bored. Like, there's always something new, there's always a different kind of combo that somebody's running with, there's always something that somebody could totally throw as a curveball at you, in terms of what's necessary for that map at that moment.
Yeah, the whole changing your loadout mid-game, that's not new, but it definitely helps. But I keep leaning on the maps. The maps aren't as fun. Like, the maps I like in Halo 4, Haven is good. I like Haven. Abandon is okay. Solace, I don't like.
I hate Solace.
Yeah, I don't like Solace. As far as big maps are, I like Ragnarok, but that doesn't count, because that's a Halo 3 map. I liked Exile at first, and then I just kept playing it and getting raped by a Goshawk, and I didn't like it anymore.
I love the Goshawk. I don't see a problem with the Goshawk. Like, and here's my argument, even if you spawn on the other side, you have the tank right there, which people will go, well, one team can get both. this'll go out there, and all of you should realize this. The Goshawk is not that hard to counter, and here's the reason. Gunny, were you in that game where me and Platinum were doing our Mongoose runs?
I don't think so.
Okay, so me and Platinum, everybody should check out Platinum, great guy, I love him. We decided we were just gonna fuck around. Like, we were tired, we were half asleep, we were bored. We thought we'd just have fun with it. We get into matchmaking, we get on a Mongoose. Starting on the opposite side from the fucking thing. I'm on the back with a plasma pistol. We drive right past the Goshawk. I EMP it as we go by, we jump out, and I kick off the gunner, he jacks the driver, we stole it. And I swear to God, 10 seconds from match start. We grabbed the Goshawk and totally changed the entire dynamic of the game.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
The other team was completely dominating, and we just fucking came in there and said, fuck this shit, our hog, now. And it was just great. I think other team got both tank and banshee though, so it was a little more balanced, but with the Goshawk we were able to just shoot the banshee out of the sky, that was no problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how about you, Gunny? Where are you gonna stand for,
my number one multiplayer game. We're on number one now.
Number one, God, we talked so long about Halo 4, I forgot. Number one, there we go.
Number one, it's gonna be Halo 3. I think Halo 3, in my opinion, had the best all-around multiplayer. I mean, its gameplay was completely balanced. You could argue that the battle rifle was a little overpowered, but I don't. That was just kind of the weapon, you know, like the precision weapon.
I hate rifles so much.
A lot like the DMR is now. It introduced Forge, which is the map editor that was great. It also introduced theater mode, which is great for taking montage clips, and it helped the machinima community quite a bit. But the maps were very good, probably the second best in the series behind Halo 2. The gameplay was completely balanced. At the height of Halo 3, you had 1 million players on. I remember putting that game in the first time, and the population was over 1 million, and I was like, oh my god, I don't think I've ever seen a video game launch the way Halo 3 did. Like, watching all the stuff, like, Halo 3 was the game when it was out, but then, you know, the height of Call of Duty and all that bullshit kind of killed it a little bit, but...
Call of Duty will have its own rant at some point in the future, in another video game discussion.
But, I just love how Halo 3 was completely balanced. It didn't have armor abilities, which, I mean, I kind of like. Some I'm not a big fan of, but others I do like. But I think that helped balance gameplay. It was more skill-based. Also, a big one, its playlists were great, but also, I love the ranking system. I love the 1 to 50, which I know they're trying to bring back, but it's in a different capacity now. I loved where you had a specific rank for each playlist. I love that. What would be your number one?
Before I get to that, I actually do agree with you. I do like the rank system that Halo 3 had. That is something that I want to see definitely implemented in Halo 4, which we've had a whole discussion about that, how I feel that ranks should be determined in terms of that playlist. Which we haven't talked about in the podcast yet. We won't now, but we may do that at some point in the future. But yeah, for me, the only thing I can really say about Halo 3 is, meh, it's too closed for me, if you know what I mean.
What do you mean closed?
In terms of customization and specialization and all that. Which leads me to my number one multiplayer game of all time, fucking Team Fortress. Oh my god. If you want to talk about like huge followings, I would say that Team Fortress has been big since it started and it has never died. It has slowed definitely on the Xbox in terms of Orange Box, but I mean, you really play that
on the PC.
Computer. Not on the PC. It's going strong. Valve has consistently come out with new game types that are a little more rare, but new maps, new ways in which they change the game. They've never changed the classes, but they've had different updates for different things. Like recently, they've kind of had as you play with a certain thing, like say if you get enough headshots with a sniper, you get a special kind of sniper kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which, again, that one for me, I know that I've bitched about the more you play, the more you get special things, which kind of sets off the balance. What I'll say is their power-ups are good, but each power-up has a disadvantage.
Okay.
It's not just you get special things, it's special things with a tiny bit of a price. And on top of that, the challenges that you've got to complete to get really, really good shit are really fucking challenging. And it's kind of like the only way you get there is by either spending your whole life playing if you're not good, or by, you know, actually showing that you've got a bit of talent. But even then, even with that, it's just the way that you have so many different classes and everything, I would say the game is just so balanced.
Yeah.
It's great. It's so, I guess what I mean to say is I've never had a multiplayer game that felt that immersive to me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I actually played a little bit on the PC years ago, and it's a fun game. I'm not a big PC gamer myself, but, I can definitely see the appeal. I can tell why it has such a large following. It is a fun and, I'm gonna say, addictive game. It really is.
It is. It's got that FPS feel while still being entertaining, funny, and cheeky.
It is.
It's cheeky as hell.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, in terms of balancing just classes, I mean, you can totally have like a whole engineer blockade with fucking turrets, and as long as you have really good effective spies that know how to be a spy, you can fuck their shit up!
Yeah.
Like, you can turn everything in just a second, especially if you're coordinated and talking to people and stuff like that. It's just overall, in terms of games, like Team Fortress for me, #1 multiplayer, great fucking game. People out there listening are probably surprised that they didn't hear WoW in any of this.
We don't play WoW.
I don't like WoW. I love, MMORPGs with a passion. I hate WoW though.
Yeah, I think one more thing on, Team Fortress 2 is that it's amazing how Valve has continued to support that game. It came out 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
Team Fortress 2 is a 6-year-old game, and Valve is still continuing to support it with patches all the time, and it's amazing. It's amazing the dedication they have to that game.
It's constantly being patched, it's constantly being updated, they're constantly finding some way to change the dynamic or add something new. It doesn't get old. I would love a Team Fortress 3, just because Team Fortress 1 to Team Fortress 2, Gunny, I don't know if you've ever checked out Team Fortress 1.
Never.
The classes are a bit different. It didn't have the whole cartoony feel, which they added that I love. But just the classes are different, some of them, and the weapons they have are a bit different kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just, I think it'd be nice to see some new things, or even just in Team Fortress 2, add new classes, like one to each area or something.
Yeah.
Just to spice things up a bit. But just, it's consistent new content and consistent cult following is just amazing to me. And I love that feel, I love that community.
Alright, so now that we've gone through our best single player and our best multiplayer games, we're gonna do a small little segment here. We're gonna go most anticipated, and that means what games are you really excited for? Like, what games can you not wait for? What games are you so excited for that you are literally, you have your hand on your wallet and you are ready to throw money at developers for that game?
And just a little clarification here, well, the criterion we're using is it has to have been confirmed. Because otherwise we just kind of get into dream games and that's a totally different discussion. And also, this is also going to go out to you guys. This is going to be your response to this podcast and your listener mail. Which game are you guys most anticipating?
Yeah.
And so I think, Gunny, I will start us off here because I actually have a tie.
Okay.
Again, it's our podcast. I can do what I want. I do what I want. But, I think I speak for both of us here when I say Destiny.
Yes.
Destiny. Bungie is coming out with new material. It's going to be something totally different. It's got that FPS feel from what I've seen and heard so far, mixed in with that class-based MMO feel that's just totally integrated. Like they're going to have it integrated with smartphones and everything. It's like the new age type game, in my opinion, the way that I see it.
Yeah, I can't wait for that game. Over the weekend, Bungie was at the Gamers Developers Conference, and they had a presentation on, character development, and they were talking about all the things that influenced them, and how they were putting the game together when it came to characters, and it was great. And they had a little video, I actually sent it to you, I don't know if you watched it. But,
I didn't get a chance yet.
Basically, what they do is they kind of have they have the concept art, right, of the character, and then they have the in-game, like, model of it, and it looks fucking awesome. Some of the armor on these guys, it's like a combination of like medieval knights being brought to like a sci-fi with guns kind of thing, and it looks so awesome. Like, I cannot wait for this game. This is #1 with a bullet. Just, Bungie, give me this game. I want to throw money at you.
I feel that this game is going to do something new here. And, I don't know how our community is going to be shaped, or just the gaming world in general is going to be shaped, but like I said, since it has both the FPS and the MMO feel, I can definitely see even guilds starting to pop up in terms of this game.
Definitely. And then the other game that I'm excited for, I have two, is, it's not like, there hasn't been a formal announcement, but they are developing it right now.
I think I know where you're going.
It's Fallout 4. It won't be released for the 360. It'll probably be on the next gen console, which is awesome. Fallout motherfucking 4. And the rumors on where this game will be based is in the Commonwealth, which is basically the Boston, New England area. Which is, I mean, if you remember in Fallout 3, there's actually a quest that has to do with the Commonwealth about an android. And I cannot wait because basically, it's gonna be Skyrim with guns, really. That is actually a legitimate best way to describe that game. It's gonna be Skyrim with guns.
It's gonna be up in the New England area. You're probably also gonna have cities. The Commonwealth, the way that it's been described so far in terms of the, lore of Fallout, which I have read extensively. Gunny here can attest to the fact that I've read every fucking page on the Fallout wiki probably 8 times over.
And the Fallout Bible.
And the Fallout Bible, and the Fallout timeline, and all that kind of shit. I live, breathe, and eat in Fallout and Elder Scrolls in terms of RPGs.
Great universe.
Oh god, so immersive, so much backstory and history, which I'm a history buff, but reading history textbooks, for example, bores me.
Yeah.
It doesn't when it comes to like some kind of video game lore. Oh my god. But, it's the way that the Commonwealth is structured is it's a bit more advanced, it's a bit more put together than the rest of the communities in the Wasteland. And on top of it, the Android Quest, they're scientists that are developing, for example, artificial intelligence and AI and androids.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they have a huge slave population as well.
Yeah.
And so they have this forced labor with this sci-fi thing going on in a wasteland in the New England area, which we might even get to see radioactive fucking snow or some shit. And the ruins of Boston. Oh my god. Like, I want to see the ruins of a big city. Like, DC was okay, but like, for example, I want them to remake even Fallout 2 so I can see the Boneyards, which...
Yeah, the Boneyard was LA.
It's LA. I want to see maybe even a trip to fucking New York. I mean, just think about what Manhattan would look like.
I can definitely see that being a DLC.
And the things that you can do with, like, Broadway.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a tip of the hat to fucking New Vegas and the glamour and, the amazingness of the Strip. You could totally redo that in New York.
Yeah. But those two games, like, for different reasons, like Destiny, because of the multiplayer, single-player, thing they're bringing together here. Because I've never played WoW. I've never been a big MMO guy. But this is right up my alley. I'm a huge fan of FPSs. And they're kind of bringing the MMO to the FPS. And it's gonna be awesome. And then Fallout 4 just mainly for single player. Fallout 3 I loved. I love New Vegas 2.
I would hold your tongue there. It's only a rumor, but there's been a bit of a talk about possibly either like co-op in Fallout 4 being able to explore, or there's even been a bit of talk of free roam type multiplayer.
That would be really interesting, actually.
Which again, that's just a rumor, and we brought this up I think in our first podcast.
Uh-huh.
And, I've heard it talked about, and it hasn't totally been confirmed, but there's been, of course, leaked sources, which there is for every rumor ever.
Ever, yeah. I know that.
I got this from this guy at this production company who is credible, said no one ever.
I know that from following sports and stuff, and all the fucking sources, blah, blah, blah. It gets annoying, but whatever.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, if they implement that, that might actually be right up there with Destiny in terms of favorite games of all time, even. But, I think I'll also add a third one to this list, and I know you've even said this isn't too high on your list in the past. GTA 5.
Yeah.
I love GTA. It wasn't in my top 5. I originally had it as another tie, but I decided not to include it because I felt I had enough. I had so many ties this show.
Yeah.
But, GTA 5, and the thing that I love about GTA 5, well, one, I hate that they pushed back the release because that was supposed to be my summer game, and then they pushed it back to fall.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out in May, I believe.
No, Destiny's coming out in fall. The new Madden, which I'll probably actually buy this year, is coming out in fall, or late summer, really.
Late August.
Late August, yeah. So essentially my fall games. Black Flag, there's too much coming out in fall now. Too much big stuff is coming out in fall.
Speaking on Madden, this is actually this should be a good year to buy Madden because it's going to be the 25th anniversary, so they're probably going to do something special with the game anyway. So this is actually...
Like, implement an actual physics ragdoll system like Backbreaker had?
Yeah, but this is actually a pretty good year to buy Madden just because it is a 25th anniversary and they usually do something special with that kind of thing.
Yeah. And so I'll probably definitely get Madden this year, but in terms of GTA, there's 3 main characters for those of you who haven't read up on it. And each one has its own storyline, and they cross a bunch of times, and you can switch between characters at will whenever you want.
Yeah.
The other thing is in terms of the map size, like the immersiveness of it, Rockstar has stated that this is going to be bigger than all of their previous games' maps combined.
Yeah.
And the way in which they essentially said is they've had their version of LA, essentially, which is Los Santos and a bunch of other stuff and the surrounding areas. They've included them in games before, but they never fully created a big enough city. They never felt that it felt like a full city. It wasn't big enough. And so in this one, they have the beach area of LA, they have all the city and all the little communities of LA, and then they have the part that gets close to the actual Mojave Desert.
Yeah.
So you have a person from each of those areas, their stories intertwine, it'll be massive, they're gonna even try to revamp multiplayer again.
Yeah, you know, I too am excited for GTA 5, like I was really excited for it earlier, like a couple months ago when I thought it was coming out in May. But since it got delayed, my excitement has kind of died down a little bit. But I definitely am excited for that. I mean, the graphics look great. The open world setting, I mean, I'm told it's supposed to be like bigger than any world they've ever created before. And the characters look very interesting. You have kind of this rich guy who is an old criminal. You have, this kind of look like he's like a drug dealer or something, kind of messed up in the head. And you have this black guy who's trying to clean up his life, which could be, you know, three interesting storylines.
Well, yeah, speaking of what you were saying, the white guy, he's like, he lives in like this Beverly Hills type area and he's old school gangster. Like, I mean like, you know, like 80s type old school. Yeah. And then the black guy is essentially coming out of the 2000s early gang era of, you know, we're fucking hardcore with our pants to our fucking ass or below our ass. And then the third guy, he's a whacked out crank addict that lives in a fucking trailer out in the middle of the fucking desert. And so it's just so off the wall. And also, like, if anybody has played other games, each one has always had a monetary system where you could buy stuff.
Yeah.
The problem with, I mean, for example, GTA 4 is you get to the point where money doesn't mean shit.
Here, I'll just buy this just because I have the money to buy it. That's what it got to.
Yeah, because you didn't really have anything to do, and I actually like the way that Saints Row implemented money.
Yeah.
You could buy property and then take in revenue, and money actually kind of meant something.
Yeah.
And I see that happening with GTA 5. They talk about how they don't like that their money system just doesn't have enough.
Yeah.
Like, there isn't enough to do with money, and so they're gonna try to revamp that.
I think a lot of games have that mistake where money gets to a certain point where it doesn't matter anymore. You can buy whatever you want.
Yeah, and so I think what they're definitely trying to change that, and so for that and the other reasons, it's probably up there again as one of my number one anticipated games of this next gaming season.
Yeah, okay, so I think we'll transition from our video game discussion, which has been pretty long. I'm gonna clock it at about an hour, I think.
Oh wow, this might be our longest podcast yet.
I think we're gonna push 2 hours with this one.
Damn.
Just real quick, because we are running a little long, we're gonna quickly get into some podcast feedback. The feedback has been pretty good for the most part, especially in the podcast forums, and I know me and Toast have been getting personal messages, so thank you for the feedback. But what we really want you to do is we really want you to send in some listener mail onto our official email. Toast, what is the official email for all the nice people out there?
The official email is forerunnerconflictpodcast@yahoo.com. Also, we will accept personal messages. Denote, though, in the message that it's listener mail. Because what I want to start doing is I want to start reading these off, and it can be anything. It can be a comment. It can be a statement you want to make to FC. It can be a question for one of us, like, you know, or a question in general. I'm a huge research addict. If there's something you just want to know about, send it as listener mail, and I'll talk about it on air.
Give us content to talk about.
And it's not so much that we don't have content to talk about. Trust me, we've got lists of stuff that we want to address in these podcasts. Just, we want to get the community involved. And I know we've said that every episode so far. And this is going on a month now. This is our 4th episode, so it's a month of us doing this. We should probably start asking for maybe our own section of the forum soon.
Don't push it.
I'm not pushing it at all. And I don't mean it like that. I'm not like, you know, raising a knife to fucking Myth or Metkill or anybody going, give us our own stuff. It's just, you know, it had been talked about after our first one, and I said I wanted to prove ourselves. And I think now that we've made it a month, it's starting to get to the point where we're pretty consistent in this. And I'll maybe have a thread there dedicated to it. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. But yeah, I want you guys to send in mail either in the email or through our personal message system so we can address it on air. We'll have a whole segment where we just talk about the way and that everybody has responded. So not to discourage posting in the forums, but also just come up with cool shit to ask us or wonder about or talk about or comment on.
Once again, we do this podcast for you guys. I mean, this is the community podcast. We want you guys to be involved. It's not just us two doing this. We want you guys to be involved in some sort of way.
Definitely, and involved isn't just fucking watching the embedded YouTube video, which I hate, by the way.
Oh, don't belittle them for that.
No. This is why I'm gonna say, and actually starting
God.
this week, the iTunes version is going to be different from the YouTube and the YouTube version. And the reason why it has to be different is because in the YouTube version we can't have copyrighted material, but I can in the iTunes and the Podomatic link. So I know this is at the end of the podcast, so you've probably already figured that out yet.
Yeah.
Or if you haven't, I mean, I'm sorry, I guess you can start
Then
next
you
one.
skipped ahead. Fuck you, asshole.
Yeah. I'll put a disclaimer in the thread actually in denoting this. But yeah, letting you guys know things are definitely going to be different. So that'll also just in terms of where we are at.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of laziness, I don't like that we do an embed, but I do it for your guys' convenience, even though I feel everyone should go and subscribe on iTunes, because I always include the link, so all you have to do is hit a button on the side, and your computer automatically refreshes. Or if come Monday it hasn't refreshed for some reason, in the bottom corner of your iTunes, when you're on your podcast section, you can hit refresh. And it does it for you.
Yeah.
So, everybody go do this, like right now. Gunny and I spent a bunch of fucking time getting this RSS feed and I made it so official on iTunes, and I don't like that people aren't utilizing that.
Yeah, we actually turned down a free unlimited bandwidth site just so it would look better on iTunes. So please help us out a little bit.
It's so much more official. I mean, anybody who feels it's more work, you can have it automatically updated to your iPhone, iPad, iPod, anything. I mean, it just works. So just do it.
We are totally getting paid by Apple for sponsorship, by the way. That's why I just named off all Apple products.
No, we're not. I should pay for Apple at this point. So yes. So to everybody out there, I think, Gunny, we're gonna call this one a close. It's been a very long podcast.
Yes.
Happy 1 month birthday to this FC podcast, which even though I don't think the calendar dates align.
Yeah.
It's been 4 episodes, so 4 weeks of us doing this. We'll have another one next week, of course, and I think to everybody out there, this goes to everyone, including, everyone listening on either medium. I lost my train of thought. Thank you for listening, and thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your support, and if you don't send listener mail, you're gonna find me outside your goddamn bedroom window come Wednesday after I figure out who didn't listen, and I'm gonna be just standing there, and I'm gonna look at you until you type me a message.
That's kinda creepy.
I don't care. I want it. I want your listener mail now. Let me rub it all over my sexy body.
Someone wants the D.
I do want the D. You know what I mean by D? I mean decisions.
What?
Pause. You're all wondering now, aren't you? Oh, you will know soon enough.
Anyway, on that really creepy note and uncomfortable note, now I'm very uncomfortable, I'm sure our listeners are, I think we'll end this podcast. We've run in close. I think we're pushing about 2 hours if my estimations are, correct. So, for Toast here and myself, be sure to tune in next week because we're gonna have more shenanigans and things. So thank you for listening, and go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you guys next week.